Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Researchers at UC San Diego say they've found a complicated chemical soup in the air and the water of the Tijuana River Valley with ingredients like cocaine and methamphetamine. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen has more on what was found in samples taken from the border all the way up to La Jolla.
While the beach might seem like an idyllic place for a yoga class,
he's telling them to breathe deeply, and you don't want them to do that.
That's because a new UC San Diego study released today found that sewage from the Tijuana River not only pollutes the water, it also pollutes the air. Not just near the river, but also as far north as La Jolla. The study found that when sewage reaches the ocean, it becomes airborne, carrying harmful particles with them.
It's this complicated soup of thousands of chemical compounds, bacteria, viruses, all at the same time.
Adam Cooper is the lead author of the paper. He says some of the compound includes cocaine, methamphetamine, and octinoxate, a compound used in sunscreen.
Studies have shown that when octinoxate is exposed to light and DNA, it can damage DNA.
As you can see, the waves are crashing against the pier, and that's how these toxins are becoming aerosolized or airborne. And long-term exposure to these compounds can be detrimental to your health.
My sinuses are worse than they've ever been.
Dorian Edge has lived in Imperial Beach for 35 years. She says breathing in the toxic air is the cause of her numerous health issues.
It's important that people know exactly what they're breathing. We know there's something wrong. We just didn't know what it was.
It's quite frustrating. It's also vindicating.
Like others in her city, Imperial Beach Mayor Paloma Aguirre has also experienced health issues from the putrid air. She hopes the study will spur action into fixing the issue.
What else needs to happen for our president and our governor to declare this a state of emergency? We need a state of emergency so that we can waive all environmental laws and reviews and anything that will lengthen the fixes in time. We need to expedite diversion and treatment of the river. Otherwise, we are not going to see a dent in on this crisis at all.
At the invitation of the mayor, New Jersey Senator Cory Booker is coming to Imperial Beach to tour the Tijuana River tomorrow. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
The heat will be building as high pressure settles in over the western U.S. for the upcoming days. But for much of the West, it runs through Saturday. For us, it'll be knocked down a little bit, in part due to some moisture coming in. Not, though, from this tropical system working into Mexico. We'll break down the full forecast coming up.
San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria is making some steep cuts in next year's fiscal budget, and some council members are not happy about it. In this week's Why It Matters segment, Voice of San Diego CEO Scott Lewis says it could lead to a big showdown.
We could be headed for the biggest budget standoff in 20 years in the city of San Diego. It all has to do with cuts the mayor is proposing to parks, libraries, public restrooms, and more. First, we need to know a little history. 20 years ago, the city switched to the strong mayor form of government. That means the mayor is not part of the city council and instead acts as the city's CEO. The city council is the legislative body that checks the mayor's power. The city council, importantly, must approve the mayor's budget. Now, jump forward from 2004 to 2017. Wonder Woman was the movie of the summer, and Kevin Faulconer was mayor. That summer, Faulconer used a power that few people knew he had. The city council had approved a budget that cut out $5 million that Faulconer wanted. The money would go toward holding a special election on the future of Mission Valley. Here's the part that's crazy. Faulconer simply put the money back in the budget. That's when many of us realized for the first time the mayor's veto power gave him the ability to shape the budget however he wanted. It wasn't just a line item veto power that he had line item addition power. I remember thinking someday that could be a much bigger deal than it was then. And that day is today. This year, tensions and disagreements about the budget have reached a new high. The city council and mayor seem to be not only disagreeing about how to spend money, they are also displaying severe contempt for each other. Councilmember Henry Foster even suggested in the most public setting yet something that has only been murmured about in the last several years. Maybe it's time to put the mayor back on the city council and go back to a city manager form of government.
I think the public also needs to look at the strong mayor form of government, because I'm not sure if it actually works in our favor. And I think that is a real conversation, and that I think that is a conversation that the public needs to consider.
Here are the areas of dispute. The council seems particularly interested in restoring those park and library hours and the services that the mayor wants to cut. It wants to find the money to do that by eliminating upper management positions and speeding up the effort to impose paid parking in Balboa Park and Mission Bay. And here's what to watch. The city council will now send their hopes to the independent budget analyst. Then the mayor will come with his final proposed budget, either ignoring those ideas or incorporating them. We could very well be heading down a path we have not seen before. The council could make more than just marginal changes to the mayor's budget. And then we'll want to see what the mayor does. I'm Scott Lewis for Voice San Diego, and that's why it matters.
And Voice of San Diego is one of our partners for the Public Matters Initiative. You can learn more at kpbs.org/Public Matters. The Trump administration is pausing interviews that would allow international students to get their visas. It is also expanding screenings of potential students' social media posts. UC San Diego says about a fifth of its student population is international students, and some students told our media partner KGTV that they are worried about how it all affects them.
I have many friends, international students, who've been affected by this decision, and I have many aspiring students coming to this university and many others in the United States who've been affected by this decision and are afraid for what this might mean for their future and their future at college.
And UC San Diego could also take a big financial hit. International undergraduate students pay an additional $34,000 in tuition on top of the $19,000 base tuition. With around 4,000 international undergrads, that works out to more than $216 million annually. The State Department says the pause does not apply to students who already have interviews scheduled. Getting parents involved in their children's education can help improve grades and attendance. Education leaders in the South Bay say language barriers and fears about federal immigration policies can make parents reluctant to participate. Education reporter Katie Anastas has more from KPBS's latest community conversation.
This month, KPBS invited education advocates, teachers, and students to discuss education in the South Bay. Many say getting parents involved in the school system can be a challenge.
There are IEPs, 504s, what's a school site council, what's a PTA, what is LCAP, what is FAFSA, what is the DREAM Act?
Monica Griego is the executive director of the Parent Institute for Quality Education, or PIQUE. They offer workshops for parents on helping their kids with schoolwork and navigating the educational system.
Parents need to be empowered to say, can you tell me what that stands for? Can you explain what you meant by that? Because if they don't know the lingo, if they're not speaking that language, they can't participate in that conversation.
Many of the parents they work with are English language learners and immigrants. Lately, it's been harder to tell them about their programs. Griego says schools have become hesitant to share class rosters and parent contact information because of federal immigration policies. Providing childcare and meals at evening events can help schools bring more parents in.
We are seeing more of this now due to the community school grants that a lot of our districts have received.
Vanessa Barrera is the president of the South Bay Union School Districts Teachers Union. She says other ways South Bay districts can boost attendance and family engagement include reconsidering their calendars.
Our school year starts in July, And what happens is the traditional vacation time is during that July and August. So we see a lot of students who don't start the school year when we start, and instead we get a big flux of students that are registering in September.
Cross-border students face additional challenges. Isabela Barajas started crossing the border every day during her senior year of high school. She says it was up to her to explain her new school system to her parents.
Parents don't know what is going on. They're just open to a whole new world and whole new concepts, and it's so hard for them to understand like what you're doing, and as a student to explain to them, it's so hard. And then translate everything to Spanish, it's also like honestly tiring.
The Transfronterizo Institute helps students like her apply for financial aid and prepare for college. She says they provided guidance she couldn't find at her school. Griego with Pique says school districts need to invest in parent engagement efforts now more than ever.
There are a lot of incredible organizations that are on the ground doing incredible things for students, but if like any tool, it's not being used, it's not that useful to the families.
She says helping parents get involved is key to their kids' success. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
Imagine living in a 15-story building where the elevators rarely work. Residents of an affordable housing community in the East Village say that's been their situation until recently. KPBS reporter John Carroll says there's now hope. The elevator nightmare is over.
1, 2, 3. When St. Teresa of Calcutta Villa opened in early 2022, it was hailed as a symbol of hope by Father Joe's president and CEO, Deacon Jim Vargas. I was there with a photographer that day, and the facility was impressive. 407 units of affordable housing for San Diegans transitioning out of homelessness. A plaza on the 3rd floor, open-air decks on other floors, a nice place to welcome more than 400 people to a new home, a place where they could connect with services.
Attention, attention, an emergency has been reported.
But residents say it wasn't long before all that hope and promise descended into something quite different, a building that was not properly maintained, and at the center of it all, the bank of 3 elevators. These pictures of the non-functioning elevators were provided to us by a resident.
I'm not supposed to use the stairs. I'm not supposed to lift anything over 5 pounds. I have severe degenerative disc disease.
That's Christina Ennis. She goes by her middle name, Maria. Ennis was one of the first residents of St. Teresa. She moved here in February of 2022. We first met her in July of 2023 when she and fellow resident Maurice Truhl got a lawyer and brought a lawsuit against Father Joe's and the company that runs the place, known as Commercial and 14th LLC.
There's many more people a lot worse off than I am that live in this building, people in wheelchairs and walkers and canes, all the way up to the 15th floor.
It's been kind of difficult because I like to come and go like I want to.
I have missed appointments because the elevators have been down.
We met Army vet Jimmy Williams when we visited the building last year. Williams uses a wheelchair. Nevertheless, building management placed him in a 4th floor apartment.
I don't think they care about us. That's what I'm thinking, because if they did, everybody has walkers and wheelchairs automatically should be on the 1st floor. But being on the 4th floor and 3rd floor, we can't get out. And we're gonna die.
The allegations from Jimmy Williams, Maria Ennis, and Maurice Truhl were confirmed by Cal OSHA's elevator unit. In an email to KPBS, Cal OSHA told us they'd gotten confidential complaints in 2023 and 2024. They said when their inspectors went into the building, they found the elevators to be out of service for repair and/or maintenance. But Cal OSHA's elevator unit could not require the owners to get the elevators working again.
This is a violation of the fair housing laws that require access.
Enter attorney Ann Menashe. She's a longtime civil rights lawyer. She calls herself a bulldog for justice. She took up the case.
And constant breakdowns, either one working, 2 working, or none working,
which was disastrous for people, including Michael Mendez, one of the plaintiffs, who ended up being stuck out of his apartment for hours, ended up in the hospital. I mean, just one disaster after another, and that is so incredibly irresponsible to not put the money in to have proper maintenance of elevators.
Menashe filed her lawsuit in July of 2023. At that time, Father Joe's said they couldn't talk about pending litigation, but they did provide a statement which said in part, FJV has an internal complaint process to remedy structural or maintenance issues residents may discover. And now in 2025, there is a settlement. Building management is being compelled to fix the elevators and to keep them running.
And we have a mechanism in place with the court for 2 years that there'll be a court monitoring, and we can go to the judge if there's a problem that's not being handled properly. So we have that mechanism. There are also going to be quarterly meetings. So we are going to stay on top of it.
Now that the lawsuit is settled, we thought Father Joe's would be eager to be interviewed on the matter. I spoke on the phone with Father Joe's president and CEO, Deacon Jim Vargas, and he confirmed to me that he was aware the litigation had been resolved. He said he'd direct their media relations company, Mixty, to reach out to me. In fact, a public relations strategist there, Byron Kimball, did reach out. In an email, he said this is an active case and Father Joe's is not at liberty to comment on the proceedings. Knowing the case had been settled, I responded with that fact and asked if perhaps Kimball was referring to a different lawsuit. He responded that he was aware of the current situation and that, quote, despite all that, Father Joe's Villages is not able to discuss this case or its proceedings at this time. We can't grant you an interview. I asked why they would not provide someone for an interview or even a statement. I never heard back. I've also tried calling and texting Deacon Vargas again. I have not received a response. I also reached out to the law firm that represented the building management company, 14th and Commercial LLC. I didn't get a response from them either. The lack of response from Father Joe's and the law firm aside, residents Maria Ennis and Maurice Truel are cautiously optimistic.
They've been a lot nicer now that things have been tightening up, and the elevators have been fixed a lot more lately. Now that everything's coming together, there's a lot less tension in the building with residents and management and everything.
That's great because it's so many people in here that need things to work for them, especially when people that want to get out. You know what I'm saying? If the elevators don't work, it's difficult for people to come out and enjoy this weather. You know what I'm saying? This is a great thing.
A great thing that's now under court order to stay that way. John Carroll, KPBS News.
San Diego is figuring out changes to rules around ADUs or accessory dwelling units, and one of those changes could make these smaller backyard homes available to buy and sell. KPBS's Public Matters social media reporter Jake Gatta went to check one out.
In San Diego, the median single-family home is over $1 million. And while older generations are mostly homeowners, the younger generations are struggling to find affordable buying options. But there could soon be thousands of new homes on the market. And get this, they're already built. That's if the city approves the sale and purchase of ADUs. San Diego has permitted over 5,000 backyard homes, or ADUs, since 2021. But for now, all of these homes can only be rented, not bought and sold. That could change if the City Council approves a list of 25 amendments to the regulations that passed committee last week. Whitney Hill from Snap ADU, a local builder, told me this could make home ownership much more attainable.
Currently, in the regulations, you can't have an ADU sold separately from that primary residence. The state lifted that prohibition about a year ago, and San Diego's getting ready to opt in. So it would be similar to a condo mapping of a multi-unit property now, where you can own one of the units.
And it doesn't have to be your typical granny flat. In San Diego, there are ADUs ranging from 1 to 4 bedrooms. This one here in Claremont is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
I think what's interesting about being able to sell ADUs, you're accessing these standalone homes that you really wouldn't be able to otherwise. Usually at that size of a unit, you're talking about a multifamily living situation. So being able to sell these smaller units means that folks might be able to access that starter home that they want.
ADUs in San Diego have been controversial, with some worried about putting too many in certain neighborhoods. Others have concerns that they don't create homeownership opportunities, but that could be addressed with these changes. And selling ADUs is a way to create more of that missing middle of housing and let some new buyers get in on the market. Jake Gata, KPBS.
And as school lets out, many young people will be looking for summer jobs. A new study shows how San Diego's seasonal job market compares to other U.S. cities. Wallet Hub ranked 182 cities with the best summer job opportunities. Oceanside ranked 131. The city of San Diego ranked lower at 144. And Chula Vista ranked even lower than that at 177. Our media partner KGTV spoke with professional development coach Colby Goodman, who had this advice for job seekers.
Physically go to the place of business, talk to the manager, and introduce yourself so that they know who you are as a person and you're making a really good first impression. Get really curious about what are the pain points, what are the issues, what are the missed opportunities that that person is having that they would love the next new hire to come in and help them solve.
And Colby also recommends ramping up your resume with volunteer opportunities that show off your skills. The San Diego Association of Governments, or SANDAG, is asking the public to weigh in on a new option for the railroad tracks on the bluffs of Del Mar. The twist? The new option is an old one, leaving the route exactly where it is. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen explains.
Emma Daly lives on the bluffs of Del Mar, next to the train tracks.
I don't think they should stay on the bluff.
But that's what SANDAG is proposing as another alternative for the Lausanne rail realignment. The plan is to reinforce the bluffs and build 2 tracks through this roughly mile-and-a-half corridor. Daly and her neighbors don't think that's a good idea.
100 years from now, there's probably not even going to be any more bluffs. Every year we see rock falls and erosion, so I don't see the point of building more train tracks here.
In recent years, coastal erosion has caused multiple bluff collapses that have disrupted rail traffic. The Los Angeles, San Diego, San Luis Obispo, or Lausanne corridor is the region's main rail connection to the rest of the nation, and it moves billions of dollars of goods each year. SANDAG Deputy Planning Director Keith Greer says this option was added after more than 1,500 resident inputs.
This project tries to figure out the best solution for maintaining that line. And we have 4 different options right now, but we're looking for input on those 4 options. What else should we consider?
Yeah, it's a puzzle.
Del Mar Mayor Terry Gasolin says the best option is to move the tracks next to Interstate 5, but adding the option to leave the tracks where they are for the next phase, the environmental impact study, would give the city and SANDAG more options.
Personally, I believe that this environmental study is going to tell us all the things that are good, all the things that are bad, and we're going to wind up with a menu of what could possibly be done.
For Daly, the choice is clear.
I think moving the tracks inland closer to the 5, rerouting it, would be a better idea.
The public has a chance to weigh in on any of the proposed options this Thursday at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
The upcoming days here, we are watching the heat start to build, which means a couple of different things for us in Southern California. First off, when those numbers go up, we notice them most extensively through the mountains and desert communities. But also, we are going to get a weaker marine layer coming in over the next few days, which means a little less in our May gray coverage as we close out the month of May. But coastal low will actually bring some weekend changes for us, and it comes in the form of some more clouds and possibly even a bit of moisture, and that moisture too will depend on where you live, which you'll find as well across the southwestern U.S. First up, though, you can see across our area we do have 62, the overnight low, with of course our May gray. So more clouds coming in tonight as you work your way into the city. Escondido 59 for your low. We're headed to 55 in Mount Laguna. Really pretty quiet time. As the sun breaks out tomorrow, we will start to see sunshine appear, and it gets bright back to 70 degrees for the city, 70 for Chula Vista, 71 in Oceanside. As you work your way a little farther inland, Borrego Springs comes into 97 for the afternoon. Not overly hot, but we will ramp up that heat in the days to come before we cool things down. Why? Well, I told you about a tropical system. That moisture gets injected around this coastal low that sets up near our area. Now, remember, most of the tropical moisture is going into the interior southwest. We will get this low that just kind of keeps some clouds around, maybe a sprinkle or two, so this is what we'll be on the watch for as we go through Sunday into Monday time frame. So it does knock down, beginning on Saturday, some of our numbers in some locations. As you go through the next few days here on the coast, we do have a lot of sunshine out there for Friday. So that's when that marine layer, very thin as we head through the morning hours, bright, and temperatures go back into the lower 70s. And that kind of holds with us through a lot of the weekend, but we'll add those clouds back in for Saturday and Sunday. And certainly by Monday, the inland community is kind of getting dreary because of all that moisture from that coastal low developing. Again, not the tropical system, just the coastal low that's out there. That will hold for our mountain communities too as we head into Monday. Notice the shower or thunderstorm maybe starting even on Saturday. Temperatures there in the mid-60s, going down to the lower 60s by Sunday. And a peek at the desert community shows you extra clouds in place for Saturday and Sunday. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
What do therapy dogs and airports have in common? How about a party to celebrate the contribution of the furry volunteers? Ready, Pet, Go airport therapy dogs got a volunteer appreciation party today at San Diego International Airport. More than a dozen certified therapy dogs had the time of their life, splish splashing in pools and enjoying some amazing dog treats.
It's a dog party. It's here to honor and thank our therapy dogs here at the airport. We have appreciation events for our human volunteers throughout the year, but that is not something that our dogs can often attend. So this is a party strictly for the dogs.
And these adorable volunteers, they volunteer all year round, and they dedicate more than 1,000 hours to give comfort and stress relief to travelers. By the way, the airport is looking to recruit more volunteers of certified therapy dogs who help out 10 to 12 hours per month. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.